a quick video about Postmates, which is another side hustle, actually my first rideshare app that I've used. And if you don't know, Postmates is basically like Uber Eats. You just download the app, you apply, download the app, and then you can go pick up people's orders. You pick up people's orders and you just deliver it to their house. That's really all Postmates is. Nothing more, nothing less. I am going to do a earnings video shortly, just showing you guys how much I've earned so far with Postmates. Now, I don't know yet if it's lucrative. I don't know if I'm making money or if I'm not making money. The thing about Postmates that I like, that it's flexible. I can turn on the app and wherever I am, orders picks up. That's what I like about the app. What I don't like about the app is that sometimes it will send you out of your way. And it doesn't, I don't know what they are using to like calculate the difference from one Postmate driver to the next Postmate driver. But there was one time I picked up an order and I dropped it to the customer house. And then 2 minutes later, I got an order at the same place. And I had to drive back to pick up that order. I know Uber Eats, they do like Uber Pool, something like that. My husband was telling me about it. I think Uber Eats is going to be my next hustle. But he was telling me that you can be at a place and pick up 2 items for a customer. And, you know, pick up both of those orders and then go drop it to the customers, which I think would be so much more convenient. So I'm going to try Uber Eats. I'm going to do a review on Postmates, but let's go ahead and get into this earnings. Alright, so hey guys, I'm coming back to you guys with another video. As I promised, this video is about my Postmates earnings. And I just started Postmates. I started Postmates less than a month ago. As you guys can see here, I took my first trip October 20th. And that was the very first time I tried it out. I did have a bad experience. My first Postmates delivery, but yeah, well, that's a whole nother video. So this video is about earnings, and my earnings for Postmates so far. So as I stated before, you get paid per trip. Now, some people do tip and some people do not tip. So as you guys can see here, on the 20th, which was my first order, it says 2 stops. And that means that I stopped at the restaurant and then I did my second stop at the customer's home or the business or what have you. My first Postmates experience was at Waffle House. That's where I did my very first pickup. And it was $4. It was like a 20-minute ride. But when Postmates is saying you can earn up to $25 per hour, they're talking about having multiple trips. So let's go on to the 22nd. Now, the 22nd, I started working at 10:20 a.m. That's when I went to the restaurant to pick up the order. And I finished around 12:43 p.m. So roughly a little over 2 hours. And that day, as you guys can see, my first trip was $6.27. Next trip was $5. And this is including the tips. I had an order that I actually was canceled, so I didn't earn anything for that. I earned another $12.24 for another trip, $5.42 for another trip, $4 for my last trip that day. Now, though this seems like not a lot of money, I would say this adds up really quickly. So for that 2.5 hours, roughly I earned a little over $30 in 2 hours. So that breaks down to about $15 per hour. But this is including tips, but it was only about $8 of tips. a little over $8 for tips, which is not bad. I was just starting out, as you guys can see, but for 2.5 hours, I did 6 deliveries. 6 deliveries. So that tells you guys that I'm driving 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 14 minutes to the restaurant. The restaurant is around the corner from the customer's house. But it drives you further and further into the city. And these offers, especially because I'm delivering in Metro Atlanta, seriously, they are like back to back. Sometimes I am at the restaurant and I'm also accepting another order that's going to come in after I deliver this order to the customer. So it definitely depends where you live. So the second day that I did Postmates was on the 28th. And as you guys can see, I started working at 12:09 p.m. I then took a break. I just did one order. And then I started officially my shift at 6:53 p.m. and then stopped my last order at 10:24. Now, I don't know if I said this in any of my other videos, but Postmates, these rideshare apps are really addictive. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm like, okay, one more delivery. Okay, this is my last delivery. And as you guys can see, I stopped at 10:30 at night. For that day, I earned a little over $50. And I wish they would break down like daily how many hours that you completed. That would be so beneficial. But then I guess people will soon realize that the money may not be as cracked up as it is, or may not be as good as they expect. So for that day, I've earned almost a little over $50. I remember this order that you guys see on the 30th. That's a $10 tip. And that tip it paid me more than what Postmates paid me for picking up that order. And I really feel like it all involves customer service. It also depends on where you're delivering. Now, I know in my other video I said I don't go in the city too much, only because it's hard to find parking and it's other things. But depending on, I live in Metro Atlanta, so depending on what area in the city that I'm going to, depends on if I have to pay for parking and stuff like that. This area that I was in, I was just delivering to houses. And granted, you never know if you'll be delivering to apartments or houses, but you usually can tell like a mixed combination. But in the area that I was in, it was more houses than it was apartments. So I earned $55 for that shift. And that was from, I'll say 6:53 p.m. to 10:24. So that was a little over 3 hours. And that one pickup and drop off that I had at 12:09. So I would say that was a little over 3 to 4 hours, because the way that Postmates calculate it doesn't necessarily calculate the duration that you're driving from your point of location to the restaurant. It more so calculates from the restaurant to the customer's home. So that's the way that they calculated it. For that day, I had orders coming back to back as I did for the 22nd. And once again, I went to the same area because I don't know why, but Postmates always sends me to the city. Now, when I first started out, I was receiving only tips via the app. So that's another question. Was I receiving cash tips or was I receiving app tips? Mostly app tips. I got one cash tip from a customer, and it wasn't much. It was $5, but it was only 3 minutes to her home for that trip. So, granted, it wasn't too far, but she did give me a tip. Now, another thing that I would say when doing Postmates, you want to make sure that you are giving the customer whatever is free. Napkins are free. Make sure you're giving them their utensils. Make sure you're giving them, sometimes I include a menu from that restaurant, because you never know if that's the first time that customer is trying the food. So that's napkins, utensils, condiments. If they order French fries, get ketchup. If they order a burger, get ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise. Get salt and pepper. I see it as it's better to have than have not. And you never know what your customer wants. In some of these orders, I'll do a demo another day about actually being in the app and taking orders so you guys can see. But there are some customers that actually give you notes, and the notes would say, pick up ketchup or pick up mustard or ask for extra sauce. So be sure to pay attention to what the app notes are saying, because those notes come from the customer. At the end of the day, double check these orders. Are there 3 fries? Did they miss something? I usually stop, double check it, count the number of fries in there before I actually head out to deliver to the customer. The next tip is look at the app to see what the customer has ordered. Why I say that? I say that not just to double check if everything the customer needs is in that bag. No, that's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it because I've noticed when there are multiple different, now it will be one order, but there are multiple orders within that one order. There may be a family, there may be co-workers. I try to stick to orders that have more than one order in it. So if I see 5 cheeseburgers, I'll try to stick to that. The larger orders. Why? Because it's a better probability that you will receive a tip. It's not guaranteed. I did not say it's guaranteed, guys. But it's a better probability that you will receive a tip. Okay. So for the 30th, I only did one order, one pickup, and it paid nice, $11.33. That was actually on my way home. So that was at 8:44 p.m., which is good. And then November 4th, I did a few transactions. I got a tip every order that day, and sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you may not. That first order at 5:58 p.m., I got a cash tip. That second order at 6:35 p.m., I got a $5.69 tip. And